Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Victoria Organa, and today I am knitting a Squid Games balaclava, and it turned out so well. So this is not a proper tutorial. I freehanded a lot of this. There is a good chunk of trial and error, and believe me, when you freehand stuff, you will get error. But this is the balaclava. It turned out so good. So if you want to see me make this, please follow along. You can wear it over your head and still see through because it is a chunky weight yarn, or you can fold it up and wear it as a hood. So depending how warm you want it to be, you can kind of half wear it. But yeah, please enjoy the video. The first step to any good project is you need your supplies and you need the tools to make it. And I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot a little bit because I'm not sure if they have the specific yarn I want here. It said last night that they had 2 left in stock, and actually I think I see it is the Bernat fluffy yarn. I think this is just an acrylic yarn, but it is a bulky weight, and it is that perfect pink Squid Games color. And I see that they have a matching black, which I'll use for the inner mask portion of the mask worker for the hood. Anyways, you'll be able to see it in my mock-up, but I'm very glad that they're matching. I didn't think they would be matching. Now I'm just heading up. I want to see if they have any good supplies for making my own stitch markers, but I did double check, and it is 90% polyester, 10% nylon. These beading land hair rings might seem like a good size for some of these stitch markers, but they also might be a little bit large when I'm working with delicate yarn, so that's a maybe. These 10 star beads on these rings and stuff itself might actually be a good little counting charm. I know I've seen a bunch of these style ones online, and this is kind of already pre-assembled. The thing is, you'll still have to count sort of which stars you are on, and it'd probably be bad on anything that gets tanked. This heart one is kind of cute, but there's only 9 of them, but I could probably just take them off the rings and use it as stitch markers, but the beads might kind of get in the way. I'm getting distracted. What I really need is this section with different clasps and stuff. Actually, these lever back earring back might be kind of perfect. This way I will be able to open and close them, easily hatch beads. They have a few different colors. I think these might be it. I don't know if I want silver or gold. Maybe silver because my needles set is silver. Well, it's brass, but it's silver, you know? Actually, I'm gonna go with these multicolored pack because I get more and they're slightly smaller, so I think it would be better for my more delicate projects. And oh my god, look at all of these charms. These would be so cute as stitch markers. I mean, oh, they're Star Wars ones. Oh no. Why are they're so expensive? They would actually kind of get in the way somewhat, but I love that Death Star. Oh my god. Look how cute some of these are. There are a lot of different options that are non-licensed, thank god, and I found 2 cute adorable sets that I think aren't going to be too heavy or anything, and they're about the same price as 4 charms of the licensed ones, but there are 24 of them, so there are 12 space themed ones and 12 luck themed ones. I really like this one because there's a fortune cookie and the horseshoe, but I better get out of Michael's before I spend any more money that I do not have. I would pick up the white as well in this specific yarn, but I think I have some white yarn to do some accents, and I don't think I need a whole other ball of yarn just for maybe a meter or so. You know what, that makes it easy for me. If they don't have it, then I can't buy it. But getting right into the tools that you'll need if you want to follow along and make a similar project. But what you'll need is some black yarn and pink, and then I just have a little bit of extra white yarn. This came from a Woobles kit, and for this project I'm going to be using my Addy Click interchangeable needle set. So these ones 3.5 inches in the US size 10, so 8 millimeters. So I used that size of needle with the 16-inch cord, and that is for the number of stitches for the face mask part. For the hood, I ended up using a much longer cable just for ease of working. I'm sure you could fit all the stitches on the other one, but when you get to the top of the hood, you are essentially half doing a magic loop, so you will want that extra space. The other thing that I used was a crochet hook to pick up stitches at one point. So I am using my Addy crochet hooks. I use the US size 10 6mm hook, and this just attaches to the cords. I find it's really easy to pick up stitches using these hooks versus just picking it up with my needles. Starting every project, I started with a swatch to figure out my gauge. If I wanted to use the 8mm needles, and figuring out if I wanted the stockinette or I was just going to use a garter stitch across, but I decided decided that I hated how it looked, but I did like how the two garter rows flipped up this collar portion. So this kind of aided me to figure out the circumference of my head, and this is going to be my general construction of the project. So you can see how there is a collar section, the hooded section, and this giant tube, which ends up being the face mask. You can still kind of see through it. I ended up figuring out it could be 60 stitches across the widest part. It took me 2 tries to realize that I probably want to taper it in on the top and the bottom, so you'll see me trial and error that. This is essentially the plan that we're going to try to follow. So I'm at a really weird spot right now. I finished about 35 rows on a 60 1x1 rib for the face mask part. I'm very happy we can see through it, but the thing is, when I try it on, I think I wish I would have done about 30 stitches at the top, because it opens up very wide, like more than half my face. So like when it's at the top of my head, it's going to flare out and be weird. And I'd rather have it kind of look like how it is when I put the needles on my face. So you got a nice face mask, and this is probably where I was thinking of doing some decreases to bring it closer to the neck, because this is fabulous. But I would love that like tighter circumference, because this stretches really far. So I don't know what to do, if I want to frog this, because it's really fuzzy, so it's going to be a bitch to frog, or continue making this into a hat for my friend and then try it again. Just cast it off whatever I had knitted before of the 60 1x1 ribs across here. This is going to end up being a reversible hat for my friend. But as you can see, like if I pull this over my face, I think the length is pretty good. Whatever this flare is doing, I don't want that. So make sure at the chin and at the top, I'm going to start with 40 stitches and then increase it and then decrease it again for the neck, and then we'll have a mask. So I'm just going to cast on those 40 stitches. If you're following this video as a tutorial, I am fairly confident that this is where the actual tutorial will start. Let's see how many I've casted on so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, and I'll continue on till 40. Okay, I have 41 stitches on here, and the last, like the 41st stitch here is like a back loop cast on. I forget the name of it is called, but now I've made sure that all my stitches are not twisted on my needles. I am using a magic loop currently. I am going to be putting the first loop on that we cast it on to the second needle here, and now I'm going to be bringing the last, like the 41st stitch over, and then I'm going to be bringing it back to the first side, so when we join it in the round like that, it is a-okay. Because the stitches are definitely not stretched out yet, I'm sure 40 stitches are going to fit comfortably on this 20-inch loop. And this first stitch is a knit stitch. I'm trying to see if it is forwards or backwards. I think it's on there in the right direction. Join this, do the first 1x1 ribbing and knitting and purling, and then I'm going to continue that for about 3 rows before I do any increases. Okay, so I've made it about 5 rows of stitches, and it measures just about over an inch for me. So now I'm going to start doing some increases. So the pattern that I am going to be following to increase eventually to 60 stitches, so the increase pattern that I'm going to be doing 10 times all the way around is knit, purl, knit, increase, and then purl. So it's those stitches repeating of knit, purl, knit, increase, and then purl. Now after that first row of increases, I am just going to do another round before I do my second round of increases and continuing on with the ribbing. So I am going to be doing a knit, purl, knit, knit, and this stitch is going to end up twisted. That was the increase one, and then purl. So now we are doing it in, so the pattern repeats in stitches of 5. So knit, purl, knit, knit, purl. And now we have 50 stitches on our needles. I'm going to do one more row of increases, and then the following rows are just going to be 1x1 ribbing all the way down. So the pattern I am going to be using for the increases is going to be a knit, purl, knit. Now this is the stitch we increased previously, and we knitted it last time. So now we are going to purl this one, and we are going to do our increase in between there, and then we are going to do a purl. So it ends up being a knit, purl, increase, purl. And that will leave you with a total of increments of 6 stitches. I'm going to repeat that, so you'll do that 10 times, and then you'll be all set up for your 1x1 rib. And now after you did those increases, you can actually really see the tapering effect that the increases are providing compared to my first attempt, where it's essentially flaring out because the Italian cast on is such a stretchy cast on. Kind of need it tapered so it will stay on the top of our heads. Now I'm just going to work 1x1 ribbing all the way across until it reaches my chin. So let's see, maybe about 9 inches I will do. But yeah, now it's just easy flying from here. So I have been knitting the body of this face mask for a little bit. I'm at about 8.5 inches. So I will probably do another 2 rows. I will show you what it looks like on before I start doing my decreases to fit along the neck area for the balaclava. But this is what it's looking like. It is a lot tighter at the top of the head. Again, so I want this part of the chin covered, so that will probably be a few more rows. And then I will check back in when I'm doing my decreases. And I'll probably follow a similar decrease pattern. I don't think I want to go lower than 40 stitches, or else I don't think it'll be able to fit over somebody's head, or specifically my head. And I think this has some pretty good shaping to it, so I'm very excited of how it's turning out. So the project is measuring at just over 9, maybe about 9.5 inches now, and now I will start doing my decreases. My first 5 stitches, so a knit, purl, knit, purl. So there's the first 4 stitches, and we're going to end off with 5. So I'm going to be doing a slip, knit, slip, decrease on every like 5th and 6th stitches. So it ends up being a knit, purl, slip, knit, and then slip that one back over. I'll be repeating that until I have 50 stitches. So now that you're done that row of decreases, you should have 50 stitches on your needles. And now we're just doing another round, following the same stitches as before. So it's a knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. So that is the repeat of 5 that we'll be doing. And now for our last row of decreases, we're going to be knitting to all of the 2 knit stitches together. And I'm starting off with the previous row that I was on. I didn't do a knit stitch in this last loop here, but I'm just going to slip it off, take off my stitch marker, and slip it back on the needles, because we're going to be using that last stitch, because again, there are 2 knit stitches together, and knit the 2 together, and then continue on with purl, knit, purl, and then you'll have 2 more knit stitches side by side. So anytime you see that, you are going to knit the 2 together, then continue with your purl, knit, purl. So once you get back all the way around, you should have only 40 stitches on your needles. So I'm going to continue down with this ribbing for about another 7 inches for a total of 16 to 17 inches in total for the mask portion, because I think this will be a good length to go down my neck. I'm going to try it on closer, so I will check in when I get there. Okay, so I finally made it. I think it is about 13 inches. I did try it on, but I am going to be transitioning to the pink now and using this sort of, I think it's like 4 garter row design. So it will end up sort of sitting flat. So what I'll be doing is knit, purl, knit, purl, and then I'll continue on in my knit inside out. Let's get the pink on. Okay, so I'm going to leave, I don't know, that much of a tail on it, and let's get the pink and start stitching. And I'm just going to be starting with the pink and a knit stitch. Need to remember to not purl. This is my project after the first knit row. Now I'm going to purl. This is the project after a knit and then a purl row, so I'm going to be doing this again, but you can see there is that first part of that ridge, and we are going for 2 of those, and then it's just plain stockinette, baby. Okay, I've gotten to the point where I have done about 6 rows of stitches. I think that will make a good accent collar length with the addition of my casting off. Here you can see kind of how the hood attaches. There's like a collar bit and then the hood goes around. So I'm going to be casting off essentially over here, and then I will pick stitches back up and then work it bottom up for the hood. Okay, so for my casting off, I'm just going to be doing a fairly simple knit over, or it's like knit and then slip the stitch essentially, and you get a nice little edge, and I think that will match the I-cord that I'm going to be doing around the edge of the hood fairly well. I just hope it's stretchy enough. Starting off the bind off is 2 knit stitches and then pulling the first over the second. Okay, now it is officially off my needles. I'm going to put a stitch marker in the last loop and then not cut the yarn just yet. I want to try it on. This is the kind of weird little shape we have right now, and what we're going to do is pull the black part through the pink, so the pink knit stitches are on the outside. So you can see there's the purl side in there, and this is the collar. It gives like a nice little edge, those garter stitches. It is, okay, this bind off was a little bit tight. I'm not sure how I feel about this. My hair is definitely doing something. I think it's quite fine for what it is. And then when you pull down the sort of balaclava mask part, this is what you get. And I think this looks pretty good. And then the hood will come up and around from probably this point on. I think it's probably about 10 stitches, so it'll go about like 3/4 of the way. Yeah, I'm just going to be casting on essentially in this garter stitch area, but I think it is coming along quite well. So I've decided that I'm going to be leaving 10 stitches in the front, and that's where I'm going to be starting my hood. So I'm going to be doing some increases. I'm going to be switching out my cable for something longer because I'm just going to be working back and forth in the flat. And to help me pick up stitches, I have the Addy set of crochet hooks. So I just picked a similar size one. I'm just going to put it on one side of my cord, and then I'm going to remove and put one of my US size 11 knitting needles on the other side just to kind of hold the stitches. So I'm going to pick up 30 stitches, knit, and then we'll do increase in front and back loop, so then it will double the number of stitches, and I will start off from there, I think. So starting where I marked off the 10 stitches that I'm going to be leaving over here, my first set of stitches will be here, and I'm going to be working on this underside because I want the loops to be coming downwards, so there's like a little bit of a drape to the material. So I'm just going to stick my crochet hook through, keep my tail end of the yarn to the right, and then pull and put it on my stitch. So that is 1, and then my next stitch is here, which is number 2, and I will just continue using the crochet hook to put all the stitches on, and then it will end up on the cord, and then I will switch back to the needle from the crochet hook. Okay, somehow I ended up with 31 stitches on there, and that doesn't really bother me too much, so I'm going to use 31 stitches on here, and I'm just going to keep one as the center back essentially. But I am going to actually be purling this first row because I want the knits on the other side, which will be the hood that comes around. So I'm going to be doing my 31 purl stitches all the way across. Obviously I took off the crochet hook and put my needles back on, but it just makes it super easy to pick up stitches when I have those crochet hook attachments for my interchangeable sets. Okay, now I'm going to be knitting in the front and back loop of every stitch except for stitch number 16. End up having an increase to 61 stitches. So I'm just going to be doing knit through the front loop and then go around, knit through the back loop. Okay, now that we have 61 stitches on our needles, we are going to turn the work around and just continue working up the hood pattern. I'll probably do some increases along the center back and then decrease again just to get the right shape of the hood. But I will be doing an I-cord on each end just to get nice finish on the outside of the hood. So on all the purl side, I'm going to bring the yarn in front, slip the first 2 stitches, and then continuing on with my purling. And for the last 2 stitches, I will be doing the same as I'm going to bring the yarn to the front and then slip the last 2 stitches off. So when I'm in the knitting round, I'm able just to knit all the way across. So I'm at a hyper fixated and kind of finish the hood part on my own. It looks a little weird, I will say, but it does fit from when I was trying it on. Let me get some measurements out. 7 inches up, I started doing decreases every round. So there's that center line is doing a left decrease and right decrease into that line, kind of like how raglans work. This is how the I-cord is looking on the inside, but I kept on going until it felt like, I don't know, it felt like it fit on top of my head, and that is about 13 inches, and I'm about to seam it up, but let's try it on. So it fits quite comfortably, and right now at this point I can easily just knit them together, stitch it up. It is almost there, and then I need to figure out how I want to embroider whatever shape I want on the front, and we're almost done. Okay, so I'm most definitely winging it right now. I have the purling side outwards, so this is the inside of the hood, and I'm just going to try to knit both stitches together. I don't think that was right. Smarty here. I'm going to just Kitchener stitch them together. I've never done that before, so I will hold you the pain of watching me try to figure that out. Just looked up a tutorial. Almost did it backwards the first time because I still had my purl sides together when it should have been the right sides together. This is my finished Kitchener stitch, and this is what the top looks like. It is fairly seamless. I really love how the I-cord goes all the way around, and now I can finally try it on all the way. We have hood and mask. It covers my entire face, and I still can kind of see because it is a loose enough knit, and it is definitely wide enough. I think the shape of the hood also looks pretty good. Able to wear it with the hood down. See, maybe not scare so many people, but oh my god, I'm actually so happy with how it's turning out. It looks so good. Okay, we are almost here. I weaved in all the ends last night, but if you play stupid games like doing the wrong kind of bind off, you'll win stupid prizes, such as undoing the bind off for the collar portion. I just undid it, put it all back on the needles, and I'm actually gonna just do a proper tubular Kitchener stitch bind off because I was lazy before and it barely fit over my head anymore. And then I have marked with some stitch markers about where I want my triangle to be, because I think that's the shape that I chose because I think it'll work the best for this. And I have some leftover yarn. This is from a Woobles kit, and I haven't quite decided. I might try to do a duplicate stitch, or I might do like a top sort of chain stitch embroidery on it. Take your time and do the right fucking bind off so you don't have to do it twice. Okay, that took a little while to undo. I made an error. It's not the Kitchener bind off. It is the Italian tubular bind off, which is basically the same thing. Kitchener is just the same steps, but with 2 pieces of fabric versus 1. So like I did the Kitchener at the top of the hood, Italian over there. But it made such a difference of being able to stretch it over my head comfortably. Like absolutely insane. It doesn't feel like it's choking me anymore, because it shouldn't have choked me, because there was definitely enough fabric there. It just was the complete wrong bind off. I think this is where I want my triangle. I'm going to try to like make sure these are even. I think I want to try to do duplicate stitching. I'm not quite sure how that will work over the ribbing, but we'll see. We'll figure it out. Okay, so I did the thing. It's 13 chain stitches, which might be a little bit loose, but I didn't want it pulling on my face. And then it's just a slip stitch into these 3 knit, and I think it looks pretty good. Like, don't mind the tail of it. When I take it off, it obviously loses its shape, and when you tuck it in kind of balaclava style, you kind of get that near your mouth, which is kind of unfortunate, but that is just the way it always was going to be. I think I like how I did it. So again, like if you take it off, it is very loose and lumpy, but then that's the way it can stretch and fit on your face. So I think I'm going to actually tie and bind this off. I also realized that I've been an idiot a lot of the time and putting it on my face when I could have been trying it on the mannequin head and using this. I think it turned out fantastic. It is so unbelievably cozy. I actually will wear this out. I thought I was going to gift it to a friend, but I kind of really love how it fits, especially with the hood and when it's really cold here in Toronto. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know if there's any other nerdy knitting projects that you want to see me recreate. There are a few things that I would probably change if I did this again in the future. First of all, when I've been doing the decreases for around the chin, right now you can't really see because it's just a mannequin head. On my neck, it's like the back of my head to my neck is a lot flatter. So I would put all of the decreases from 60 stitches to back to 40 stitches over a couple rounds under the chin. I initially was going to do that, and then I just decided to make it easier on myself doing it even all the way through. So I end up with a little bit of bunching at the back of my neck, which again, I don't really mind too much. I would probably change the yarn. I like the weight of it. It being blanket yarn, it gets really fuzzy, but that was the only yarn I could find in this perfect color pink. And then doing the stitching from the underside to get the hood, I would have probably done it from the front side just so it doesn't pull up the black and you can't see the black as much. But again, that is just a little nitpicky thing. It's fantastic. If you like it, please like, comment, and subscribe. I think it turned out so freaking well. It is very cozy. I can't wait to wear it. I really didn't think I'd love it as much as I do, but fuck yeah, this is so good. Oh, and like I can have my purple hair out too. Fuck yeah.